Hello patrons, hello pooches. Gwendolyn Exodine. You had a nice day so far? It's a rainy day, isn't it? You rainy boy. It's your little puggy. You've been in your bed all day. So soft and warm. Okay, you can lie there. I just filmed a favourites video. So I'm feeling all flustered. And I always feel like quite drained when I film videos. So I hope I don't seem too low energy. I also really didn't sleep very well last night. I only had about 4 hours sleep. So I don't feel my best. But I'm just going onto the Patreon app right now to do the Q&A. I see we have about 19 questions. That's good. I haven't looked at any of them yet. The first question is from Paulina, who's asking about painting on porcelain, but then she's found the video, which she says she missed whilst she was travelling. Yeah, that's my latest video on the channel, is one where I'm painting on like a ceramic tile. So if you haven't seen that yet, go watch it and let me know what you think. Zainab asks, do clients ask you to come up with an idea when it comes to editorial work, or do they flat out tell you what they want? My class assignments in art school ask me to do that, and I find it difficult. They also ask for my own reference photos. Do clients ask those things? I find it hard. That's a good question. I would say most of my editorial work is pretty straightforward, so they usually come to me with exactly what they'd like me to paint, and I paint it for them, and that's it. Sometimes they want to talk about ideas, but usually found with editorial, because it's such a fast turnaround, they usually come to me with exactly what they want me to do. Otherwise we'd be bouncing ideas back and forth and it would just make it very long-winded. So yeah, there's usually not much room for creative expression, I found, with editorial work. And I'd say about 50% of the time they supply reference images, and the rest of the time I do. And usually when they supply reference images, I always go off and find my own anyway, just to add to the pool of references that I can work from, and just to make sure I'm not completely copying one photograph. So yeah, I would say it's really helpful when they have got their reference images and they're really good ones. Like the bread project I worked on, they supplied all of the imagery, really high resolution photographs of bread, so I could really go crazy on the level of detail that I could paint. And yeah, that was really helpful. So, and it does add to your time spent working on a project when you have to source all of the reference images yourself. I've always wanted to know, so Jamie asks, I've always wanted to know which sizes and brands of brushes you use for watercolour. And Elena was wondering the same thing. Okay, so I can't remember exactly the ones that I use, and I'm in my living room right now, so I'm going to include some cutaways of the sizes that I use and the brands that I use. I don't really look so much at the sizes, but I mostly just look at the tip and see whether it's suitable or not. But then when I go to look at the sizes, I do follow a trend of the sizes I typically reach for. So I will let you know. Cynthia asks, as an illustrator, a lot of your work is client driven, but if you could paint/explore a series strictly for yourself without thinking of potential income, what would it be? Would it be in the same medium, same style, brackets, do you sometimes have urges to go full Jackson Pollock? I love your work and I love your vlogs. Thank you, Cynthia. I think I do. I think I am doing some stuff currently that isn't client based and is definitely something that I feel very self-motivated to do. That would be the cookbook and the Women Who Own It project. But I am always thinking of income when it comes to any projects, because I need it. So if I'm going to be working on my illustrations, I am thinking of the potential income income that I could get from them. So if money was no object, I think I would still be painting a cookbook and I would still be doing the Women Who Own It project. It's not really the income that is a thing that holds me back. It's more just time. Like if I had endless time, I'd probably go crazy and do way more things. But because I don't have limitless time, I just kind of stick to what I know will move me in the right direction. For certain, like I definitely want to publish my own book. So that's why I'm doing a cookbook, and I definitely want to create a series celebrating pioneering women. So that's why I'm doing a Women Who Own It project. And yeah, if I had unlimited time, I'd go more crazy, I think, and do more abstract stuff, but I don't. I don't think I ever have urges to be Jackson Pollock, though. I think I'm too much of a person that loves detail and reality. I do really like abstract art, though. Like, I'd love to have some in our house. I love looking at it, but I don't think I'm one to create it. So Lindsay asks, will I be doing more work for the Women Who Own It project? I love both of the paintings so far, and would also be interested to hear which women you have in mind for any future work in the series. So yes, I have. I do plan on keeping the project going. The sad thing is that I only end up managing to do one woman a year, it seems, and it's just not possible for me to do any more, especially whilst I'm working on the cookbook. That's my main self-initiated project currently. But I will give you first knowledge on the woman who I think I'm going to base the next print on. So I can't say this for certain, but I am thinking that I would love to do a project on one of the first female astronauts. So there's a lady called Valentina Tereshkova. I'm pronouncing that wrong for sure. She was the first female in space, and she also did, like, I think she was the first woman to do a solo mission to space as well. This is annoying. You can lie down. You just lie down here. He won't lie down on sofas unless there's a blanket. Because he's a poncy little boy. Lie down, please. Come on. Let's wait for him. Oh, to lie down. Go on, just lie down. Just lie down. Just lie down. Good boy, that's it. Oh, he's a little modsy. Oh. You put your head back. That's it. Yeah, so she was the first woman in space. She was Russian. But there's also the first American woman in space called Sally Ride. And I'm just going to research female astronauts, see who has an interesting life, who seems like an amazing woman. I mean, they probably both were amazing women, because like the amount of determination it must have taken to be a female astronaut in those times, yeah, pretty admirable. So yeah, I if you've seen my newsletter, I shared a piece on the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and I painted a couple of items from a spacesuit, and it just really inspired me. And I just thought, imagine a whole print with like space memorabilia all around, different items that we used on missions and things like that. I just think in watercolour that would be lovely, and it kind of gets me away from focusing on female artists, because that's kind of playing it safe, really. I was also thinking of female mountaineering people. What's the word? And my brain is so dead today. Like the first woman who climbed Everest. I think she was Japanese, I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm going to research that and maybe see, because I just thought a lot of climbing gear would be quite cool. And yeah, again, it gets me away from painting like whimsical female artists and gets me into more of a different realm, and I think that would be good for people that aren't necessarily interested in artists' lives as much as I am. Rachel asks, do I struggle with comparing myself to other artists, and if so, how do I overcome this? Does wanting to excel in your career affect your work-life balance, and does it taint your enjoyment of the job at all? Okay, so that's 3 questions, which is fine. Do I struggle with comparing myself to other artists? Ooh. Definitely, yes. I think I have quite a strong conviction over my own work though. Like, I feel very, I feel quite confident in my illustration style and my portfolio, and I don't really feel like anyone is exactly rivaling me, and I don't feel threatened by other artists, and that has really helped me to not compare myself to them anymore. I think the longer I'm online talking about my process and hearing from other artists and their processes and their stresses and their goals and aspirations, it just makes me have much more compassion for people in my field of work, and I just really want us all to succeed, and I want there to be a place for everyone. That's really what I feel quite passionate about, and that's why I share so much on my YouTube channel. I just want people to see value in their work, and for us to stop self-sabotaging and undercharging and things like that. And yeah, I always want to remind myself to support other artists, because I know how valuable it is to have the support that I have. And I do think there's a place for everyone to create, as long as they're not like copying me and copying exactly what I am doing. Then I'm trying my hardest not to compare myself to others, other artists and illustrators. Where I struggle, I think, is to do with social media as a whole, and stressing about social media growth, or lack of growth, and then I start comparing myself to other artists on YouTube or on Instagram who are doing such an amazing job, and I'm just like, how do you have time to make all this really high quality content all the time? And yeah, that's when I start comparing the most, I would say. Does wanting to excel in your career affect your work-life balance? Does it affect your work-life balance? Okay, I'll answer that bit first. Less so as I get older. I think I'm currently going through a little stage where I feel quite disillusioned by the illustration industry, so it's not my priority anymore. I love creating and sharing online, and I feel more drawn to doing that at the moment. I feel drawn to painting, making my own projects, and sharing online and interacting with people online through my art. And I feel less compelled to do client stuff because I've just been messed around a bit lately and it's really bugging me, starting to grind me down a little bit. So yeah, it's not really a priority. I really look forward to my downtime. I look forward to spending time with my family. I look forward to spending time in our house and renovating our house and stuff like that. So I think for the past couple of months I've had a really good work-life balance. Maybe the area that I struggle in is like giving myself enough time to do exercise. I will always choose work over exercise, which is really bad. And the last part of the question, does it taint my enjoyment of the job at all? I'm thinking to times when I have been consumed by work, and every time that happens I just crave free time, and I fantasize about what I'll do when I have free time. And then I have free time, and then it's too much free time and I wish I could have more work. So it's a constant sway between having too much work and wanting downtime, and having too much downtime and wishing I could have more work. I think there's a meme about that somewhere. A way that I can see things clearly is to remind myself that I'm so lucky to have this job. It might not always be stress-free and happy, but at least I get to work in my house with my dogs, and I get to have lunch whenever I want to, and listen to whatever I want to, watch YouTube videos as well as working, listen to audiobooks, take a break, go into town. I mean, that's such a luxury that I'm not tied to office hours, and I'm not going into an office that stresses me out and has all these different social dynamics going on. I feel very lucky, even if I'm hating the current project I'm working on. So I hope that kind of answers your question, or at least gives you something to think about. I don't know. So Iga asks, so she's asking for advice. What should I do to start getting paid for my artwork? I've been drawing all my life. I've studied art and graphic design for 5 years, and I've been preparing my portfolio with the work that I want to do. Should I focus on Instagram, Behance, my own website, contacting firms or agency, or something else, or all of the above? I will say I don't have much experience with Instagram. I haven't really put the time in, so therefore I haven't seen the growth. But I do see other illustrators that have grown so much through Instagram and really do talk about the value of it. So I definitely think it's one to work on, definitely. So I would say yes, Instagram. Behance. I've really stopped uploading or going on that site. So if anyone else knows about Behance currently, like what the current situation is on there, whether it's still worth signing up on there or not, let me know. Definitely your own website. I would say that, seeing as you don't have one yet, that would be your first port of call, because if you have an Instagram account, you need to have somewhere where you can link them to see more of your work, or to find out how to contact you. I think if you want to have more of a professional presence on Instagram, having a website or an additional link on your Instagram is really important. So I would say do that first, and then start researching firms and agencies after that, and really just keep brainstorming and thinking about what you want your first few commissions to be like, whether you want to get into editorial or publishing, looking at other illustrators that are doing those things and what they have in their portfolios that are getting them the work. But yeah, you should definitely be being paid for your artwork. It doesn't matter how much or how little experience you have. Being paid for producing art for someone is essential. Emma asks, I'd love to know how it was for you starting on YouTube. What made you want to start your channel? Were there many other illustrators around at the time? And if I have any editing tips, because editing is long. I really don't have any editing tips. I'm really bad. I haven't branched out from iMovie yet. I still use iMovie and GarageBand, which are two free things that are found on my iMac. Oh, my tummy's rumbling. That's because I missed lunch. Have I missed lunch? I guess I had a bigger breakfast, but I've just been filming all day. So after this, I'll have an early dinner. Sorry, Emma, my stomach has meant that I've forgotten your questions. Yeah, I was talking about iMovie. The only way I've got quicker is over time. I know now the rhythm of how I speak, and I can tell just by looking at the audio file where there's a big long gap and where I need to cut. So I can do that quite quickly now. I usually just do like a rough cut first of all, just going through the whole thing, cutting any bits that are definitely mistakes, and definitely just ums and ahs. So I cut all that down, and then I go through and start refining it a bit more and adding little overlays or cutaways and things like that. And yeah, but filming and editing does still take a long time for me. It will usually take about 2 days to film and edit a video, and then make the thumbnail, and then all of the caption and everything. It is a long-winded process, I think, no matter how long you've been doing it for. Starting on YouTube. What made me want to start? I think the main reason I wanted to start is just because I've loved YouTube for such a long time. I've always watched vlogs. I think the first vlogging channel that we watched, me and my sister found the Shaytards. Did anyone used to watch them? I think they're still around. They're like a Mormon family, and they have cute kids, and they were just quite funny and uplifting. And it was a long time ago that I started watching them. I don't think I'd watch them now. But yeah, I just felt drawn to it and thought that I could share something on there myself. I also just wanted to share what it was like in the early years after graduating, because I hadn't really seen many people talking about it. And I also kind of thought that it was an area that not many people would bother getting into. It's much more popular now, but at the time I could see a real gap for artists on YouTube and sharing their day-to-day lives, and I was willing to kind of go the extra mile to figure out how to edit videos and film them and put it all together. And I think going the extra mile on social media can be really good. Can help you get noticed. Were there many other illustrators around at the time? I can only think of Fran. I think she was the only illustrator that I was watching. Also, Audra, what's her name? I forgot her surname. Audra. I'm not sure what I was last saying. I think I was talking about who else was on YouTube at the time. So Audra or Claire, I was watching her and I was really inspired by what she was sharing. She was doing a lot of speed paint videos whilst also talking over the top, and just sharing about her life as an artist, and that was really inspirational. So yeah, I think it was just Fran and Audra at the time that I was watching, and now there's loads of us, which is amazing. So Leanne asks, how many dogs do I want? About 1 million. No, not really. I think 2 is enough for me, is enough for us. Come on in, come on my lap. Good boy. Oh, he's such a cuddly boy. Yeah, 2 is enough. Adding 1 more dog it was surprising how much more work it was. I wasn't really thinking about it like that. But yeah, walking 2 dogs at one time is much more chaotic, because they could both be pulling in different directions, and both my hands are full of bags and of poo bags and leads and treats, and yeah, I don't really I must admit, I don't really enjoy walking them both at the same time, but sometimes I don't have time to walk them separately, so I have to. So 2 maximum, but we have applied to foster pugs, so they will come to us before being adopted out. So we had like a home check for that, in which case we will have more than 2 dogs, but it won't be like a permanent thing. Both dogs are like... and we do talk about whether we want to... Sorry, Midge, but we do talk about whether we want another greyhound or not, because he has been quite stressful. He's such a lovely boy, and he's so soppy and kind, but obviously he had that thing happen with his leg, and it just kind of made us realise how fragile they are, and he's always like cutting his skin, like getting little grazes, and he's quite... They're not very spatially aware. I've spoken to other greyhound owners who say that their dogs are just really not spatially aware at all, so they're always getting injured. And when they have such thin skin, it's like they're constantly trying to heal different cuts, which is stressful. And obviously he's a big dog as well, which does limit like what we can do. I think having smaller dogs that are obviously much more portable, so you can take them into coffee shops and not have to worry about where he's going to lie down. And so he might be our last greyhound, I don't know. Craig absolutely loves sight hounds, so I do imagine that we will have more in time. But also we are thinking maybe about little kids and whether having a big greyhound might be a little bit dangerous, whether he'll be knocking them over and stuff like that. So maybe later in life we'll have more greyhounds, but I definitely cannot be without a pug. I don't think it's bad to say that Quentin is my favourite. Like, he's probably just gonna be my favourite dog of my life. He's my first boy, he's my first dog, he's my first child, and we just have such a bond that and I think it's okay to also say that certain dog breeds are more suited to you than others, just by their personalities and their temperaments. So pugs are very much suited to me. I just love how they're so silly, and they're also lap dogs. So when I'm working, he can just come sit on my lap, and then when I'm feeling a bit down, a bit overworked, a bit isolated, he just entertains me by being really silly, and I love it. I love pugs. I love greyhounds too, Miji. Although you did just fart. Gross. Vicky asks, what was your favourite illustration project or brief at uni? I don't know if this is my favourite, but this is the one that's coming to mind. I made a recession time cookbook, which was like inspired by the times of rationing, and there were lots of cookbooks then, just like wartime cookbooks, which have all this retro kind of imagery and retro typography. So I was really inspired by that, and I wanted, during my time at university, the UK was in recession, so money was very tight for a lot of people, and I wanted to make a cookbook around that, but also just playing with retro food illustration imagery and stuff like that. So that was a fun one. I can't remember if I got graded for that or not. Also, how did I decide when I was ready and confident enough to open an online shop? I opened my Etsy shop like quite soon after graduating, maybe even whilst I was at uni. I just did it because you haven't really got anything to lose. Mostly I was selling prints to friends and family and doing pet portraits for friends and family. And yeah, gradually it just grew from there. But I wouldn't hesitate to. You can always just have it on the back burner and have it something that you're adding to over time. Sonia asks, I love your personal style. Could you please talk about where you get your clothes? I can. I think this is from And Other Stories. And my trousers I'm currently wearing are from COS. I have got a lot of stuff from COS, which I've had for years and years. It's like I would say it's one of my favourite shops, because there's just the cut of their clothing really suits me and I feel very comfortable in it. So they are like it is like my staple style of clothing, and their clothes last really well as well. So I have a lot of COS stuff that is about 5 years old. But going forward, I'm not really sure how much new clothing I'm going to be buying. For the past year, I've only mostly bought secondhand clothing. I have bought a few new pieces. So I'm trying to go on eBay. I wanted some Converse shoes a couple of months ago, and instead of buying them new, I just looked on eBay, and they had some nearly new ones on there for really cheap, and also it means you're not buying something brand new, you're recycling something. So going forward, I'm going to check eBay for things that I want. They often have the brands that I want as well, like Toast cause, different things like that. Yeah, I'm just trying not to buy so many clothes, and I wear a lot of old clothes as well. A lot of clothes that I've had for a long time. And also I wear a lot of Craig's clothes because we are the same size, which is so handy, and he has amazing style, so I love wearing his jackets and his jumpers. I think I can even wear his trousers. I've worn a couple of pairs of trousers of his. He used to work for a denim company, so he has a lot of amazing like Japanese denim Japanese denim jeans, which I like to borrow. Anda asks, how long does it take for me to record and edit my videos, and do I record multiple times until it's perfect, or do I just shoot in one go? This is a good question, because I've only just finished recording a video, so I can tell you accurately. So it took me 20 to 30 minutes to film my favourites video, which will be up soon, and it took me maybe about an hour to set everything up, because I had to collect all the objects that I wanted to talk about and set up lighting and my computer and my microphone and my camera, so that took a little while, and also I had to like get myself made up, so it does take a long time. I do find setting up videos to be quite a time consuming part of the process. Editing videos can take a full work day, so maybe about 8 or 9 hours, something like that. And then also I make the thumbnail, which takes a couple of hours as well. Do I do multiple takes? I don't really. I can kind of tell if I've said something not quite right, and I might just repeat myself and then edit that down. But I found that if I re-record a whole video, I usually prefer the first take anyway, so I don't tend to stop and refilm, because it just becomes more stressful the longer you take to film something, so I just like to get it out in one go and then go back and fix anything in editing. You say that you are scared to start, but I don't think you should be. I think you should just experiment with it, and definitely a good place to start, like you say, is artist vlogs, because you can be quite natural in them. You don't have to have the camera just pointing in your face, which can be quite overwhelming. You can just have the camera propped up somewhere whilst you get on with work, and just talk to it when you feel able to. Yeah. Oh, and another one from Anda. If I ever have fights with Craig, what are the topics and reasons you fight about? I'd say we don't have fights, but we do have like heated discussions. And it's usually me who starts it. In fact, it's always me who starts it. I think Craig can be a workaholic, and he can get into the habit of not really thinking about his home life, and about our... I just feel like I've got loads of Quentin furs all over me. And about our relationship so much. He does have like a really high pressure job, and they do demand a lot from him. And sometimes I do feel a bit like we've lost our connection a little bit, and I'm always wanting to bring that back, and feeling a little bit hurt when he hasn't noticed that I'm feeling a bit left out of his life. Not in like a big... I just think it's just the natural ebb and flow of a working life. Sometimes he does just get very caught up and very stressed in his work, so I will kind of get angry at that and not express myself very well, and just be like, why aren't you paying attention to me? Why don't you want to have conversations with me? I'm just quite needy, I guess, and I'm always looking for ways to build our connection, and my love language is meaningful conversations and quality time. So he's not much, and that's definitely not his love language. His love language is acts of servitude. So for example, when I make him like a packed lunch, he really feels loved by that, and then he tries to show his love for me by doing acts of servitude, like cleaning, like making me a dinner or taking the dogs out, which I really appreciate, but it doesn't make me feel the most loved or the most connected to him. So that's something that we constantly have to work on. the fact that we have different love languages and we have different ways of expressing love. And the last question is, will I ever resume recording newsletter podcasts? I was thinking that the other day, because I was looking back over past newsletters, and I did kind of forget that I was doing those podcasts. I think it's just a time thing as well, because I do like to have stuff written down so that I can go back to. So I would definitely like to have both, have something written and images, and then also have a podcast. So it's just finding the time to do both, but I will definitely make the effort to make more podcasts. I can't guarantee that it will be an Edinburgh newsletter, but let's say that the next one will definitely have a podcast with it. I think it's just because I'm not much of a talker and I don't often feel that chatty, so just recording my voice for about recording my voice talking feels like an overwhelming task sometimes. Because I'm not much of a talker, but I will try. Lily has asked the final question, which is, have I always specialised in watercolour? Was there any points where I considered changing it? And she says she works in pen and pencil and recently did a watercolour commission, which she enjoyed, but she's not sure whether she should stick to specialising in one thing. Quentin is snoring right by the mic, so I'm sorry if you can hear that. I have always been a painter, so yes, I've always been very interested in specialising in paint, and I've felt drawn to watercolour since since art college, so it's been a long time. But that's just me. I see other illustrators that are branching out into different mediums and they're still maintaining their overall style. They're just incorporating different mediums. So I definitely think that you could do that. And if you enjoy doing it, keep doing it. And don't feel like you always need to have one medium that you work in. I think the most important thing is trying to have a consistent style, but that can reach across different mediums, definitely. Right. I think I've recorded for a long time because my camera stopped, so that usually is an indication that I filmed a lot. So I'm going to go now. I'm going to eat some dinner, an early dinner. I have a social thing to go to tonight. I've joined this women's group and we just talk about things to do with being a woman, and we talk about quite deep stuff, like quite emotional stuff, and I found it really refreshing so far to be quite open with people and to just kind of cut out the chit chat kind of small talk that usually happens when you're trying to form relationships with other people. So that's been nice, but I'm very nervous about going for the second time because it means that I have to open up more. Like the more times that I go to these things, the more I have to open up, which is nerve-wracking, but it's good to get out of your comfort zone, isn't it? So that's my plans for the evening. I hope you enjoyed this Q&A, and I hope you are still enjoying my Patreon content and my YouTube content. So thanks for watching. Thanks for all your questions as well. If you have left any after I finish recording, I will keep those in mind for the next Patreon Q&A, which will probably come later this year maybe. Thanks. Bye.